Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and Nick finding a new voice here today, and thank you for joining us after this break, and we have a great matchup to talk about here. Downfall, you have BOORK, you got a great logo on one side, and you see it over my left shoulder here, and a lot to break down. What do you think?
Well, Dave, I thought we were going to go.
That worked a lot better
Little
than I thought it
fancy
would.
footwork,
Yeah.
but we pulled a fast one on you, didn't we, Chad?
They interchangeable, I think.
It's all fun here, yeah. White guy 1 and 2 here on the desk as we bring you the final minor leagues today.
That's very true. But what is true is that on one half of this lineup here, we have Downfall with some really good players. You have guys like Edgem, you have Jay, you have T-Mac, Theo, and Shadow.
Right.
So certainly a star-studded lineup, at least on that side, and you expect big things out of Downfall.
Definitely. For a team like this, the talent is definitely there. That's not really the question for me. It's these guys coming together, I think, and finding how they mesh, who's going to be playing what. We've already seen some incredible players kind of be shifted around, especially over there in Clown Fiesta, right? They get rid of Alex, and they bring in Davzi, and he ends up having a great day, right? So It's not about just getting, LeBron, D. Wade, and Chris Bosh together, but finding out how those superstar players are going to flesh themselves out, find their role, stay in their lane, so to speak, and figure out how they're going to serve the purpose of this team winning.
And they certainly were able to find success. Of course, they're here in qualifying. You have to find success in order to qualify. That's pretty important. But the Downfall lineup certainly showing moments of brilliance, able to really find their footing. And then on the opposite side, you have the BOORK lineup. You have guys like Lumsey, Toa, Snex, Bitey, Kresnik, and then they have the sub in Prius. They have a formidable lineup as well, not somebody that you can really count out.
I honestly would kind of mirror them to All Business in a lot of ways because what they did so well was run something incredibly different in all three one of their games. I don't believe they've won one and lost one, I think, in their qualifiers in the group stages. But they have two very kind of big, great minds for Paladins, right? And Bitey and Kresnik. Personally, I've had the pleasure of working with both of these guys, and just hearing them talk about the game, hearing about what they think went right and wrong, and watching other teams play as well. It's got to be nothing but a boon and an asset for their team in general to be able to kind of have these two guys, hopefully and largely probably commanding the draft. Bitey's been at the top in the Premier League scene. He's been at the top. He's been at the bottom. He's kind of been everywhere in between as well. And he's getting older, right? So he's been around the block, I guess is what I'm getting at. He's a seasoned professional. He's not going to let his guys kind of get on till early. And he's going to make sure that they stay innovative.
It'd be good to have that veteran mentality, at least in
dad.
one point in the team dad. And they also have one of the better logos. I mean, it's totally irrelevant to any sort of success in this game, but there's just something about the dog face that I don't know, I just enjoy so much. We are going to go ahead and jump into the first map selection for this, and we do see a Splitstone Quarry coming out. So today, when we've seen Splitstone Quarry, I think we've seen it twice today first.
Already, yes.
And it's been, third time. I think 4-0 or 4-1. Both times we've seen Splitstone Quarry coming out first here.
Right.
Guess you could maybe imagine to see something like that again.
Hopefully, and it's less to do with the fact that it's Splitstone Quarry and more to do with the fact that if this is the high seed's best foot forward, so to speak, right? If you're coming in as a high seed, theoretically, if the system is programmed correctly, you are the more favored team to win. If you are the more favored team to win coming in on your strongest map, ideally you are winning 4-0, 4-1, and you're stomping it out on your map. And in those in sets historically that are going to be very good and very close, you will kind of see a dominant map one for one team, whoever picks it, and then a dominant map two score for whoever picked that. And then the war kind of begins when it goes to loser's pick, when you don't have your favorite map in the pool anymore, and you kind of have to show us what else you got. In terms of the bans here, we are seeing our standard kind of front lines plus something else. It's been Grover for the larger part of today, but it appears as though BOORK feels the need to ban away Eevee.
Deciding, I don't want to deal with that. I'm just going to take it off the board.
Why would you?
So get rid of it. I would hate to deal with it. We saw her come into play, at least in the last couple sets that Gore and I were casting last time. But Bomb King asked to start things off for BOORK. Bomb King, certainly a strong pick. Not something I've often seen as a first pick, but obviously feeling confident on it. enough to pick it first.
Yeah, it definitely can be first picked if you feel that strongly about it, especially with what's left in the front line pool. They can get Bomb King Ash. So it's the same picking phase, right?
Right.
And when you've got Inara already taken away, Khan's gone, Makoa's gone, Torvald's gone. The only things left are your Barracks, your Fernandos, your Ruckuses. So at that point, it's fine to pick up a high-powered DPS or a high-tier DPS pick. Again, the Shadow, the Eevee ban is for Shadow because of him. He is foreshadowing a great performance, and they want to get it out. They don't want him to be comfortable on this pick, which has already proved to be effective today and on this map. Simsolo crushed it on this map with Eevee earlier on, but Shadow likely to be just as effective on Pip. Shadow is quickly becoming almost interchangeable with these great names of the European Blasters, the Doodles, the Simsolos. He has had such an impact on his team when he gets on what he wants, and that's any of these Blasters really, which are still relevant, which is kind of unfortunately no longer Drogos, which was something good in his repertoire. It's really the Bomb King, the Eevee, and the Pip, which makes him that triple threat, which makes him almost impossible to ban and pick out.
You do have Strix, you do have Kinessa, so two snipery champions. You normally see one, the other, or neither. Well, I guess those are all the options, but coming out of a Splitstone, Corey, quick thought. Do you give the advantage to either team?
I'm going to go with Downfall here.
Nick giving it to Downfall, but we'll see if he's right or wrong. But to tell us if he is, we're going to send it off to our casters here on Splitstone, Corey.
Thank you, Dave and Nick. We got the in-house Paladins band playing us into Splitstone Quarry. Very flexible. I mean, from kind of heavy metal to sitar-oriented and even a little bit of punk rock. They know how to bring us into the mood for a map.
We just need some jazz. We need one like...
We do.
We need a club map.
We need a George Michael version. You know, maybe the Moldamba saxophone tweet that I literally get notifications on every week of the year for 2 years straight. I almost did my needing to let everyone know that's still real tweet like a week ago when I was getting another notification for it. I'm like, guys, I wasn't lying. This never ends. 21% for Downfall, though. This push seems to already have gone their way, but I'd be careful. Be careful here. BOORK seem to be loving the space, even though Downfall have kind of got the point protection thus far and got the objective. BOORK seem to be waiting to strike.
Edgem finally going to be able to get first blood. He's going to be one of the ones to keep your eyes on throughout all of this. Shadow, another one that's going to make a big difference in this kind of play because bouncing between the two of them, having the Kinessa kind of get them long-range low, and then just the cleanup crew coming down from Downfall. I mean, pretty sure Kresnik or Bitey, one of the two, stepped into the fidget spinner.
I think they wiped on purpose.
Still a little bit, not even suspect. It just kind of sucks in the middle of the team fight.
Yeah. I mean, I think at that point they were so clear that they were not winning that fight that at least it looked like Damba definitely did. But I don't know. Yeah, maybe he just followed his teammates and said, wow, you're going, I'm going too. I'm not sure if I understand the full delay there. Splitstone Quarry is a map where you got a lot of opportunities, but maybe they just value holding at this corner so much. This is the first hold, but they haven't even been able to do that, so it does wonder why they gave up so hard in that first round.
Well, Evil Mojo luckily not going to be able to find any kills if you're a fan of BOORK here, so they do get a little bit more time to work with, right? Now Shadow's going to have to kind of work on recharging that. Not really that big of a downside because he's going to be able to charge it pretty quickly, especially with how much damage he's been putting out. And then you look at the fact that Headhunter, Hexafire, Seismic Crash is still available. Like, Downfall, again, they have all the tools in their arsenal. They just have to be able to use it. They get Pyrus out of the air. They're making it look pretty easy.
And a double kill from Edgem as well. A very interesting story. Made a lot of waves at our last LAN with the HRX qualifiers. You thought this might be the new Team Purity kind of thing where we have some PGS players who have some big personalities who are clearly dominant as far as carry potential in the game at any level. But then decided to kind of go a different route. Try to actually kind of dropping Paladins for a little while and has come back, found apparently a team that works for him. Found his rhythm here on Splitstone Quarry. And so we'll see how this story continues to develop. It's been an interesting track thus far, and as well as Pyrus' attempts to land. He has not had that.
That's 2 in a row.
Yeah, he hasn't been able to. You can jump, Pyrus. You can't land. That's our thing.
As long as you can hit shots and be successful while you're in the air for the 2 seconds that you have, everything's going to be fine. That was clean, literally deathless on the side of Downfall. And, I mean, it all comes down to this kind of pressure, right? Faye not dying, pops his own shield, gets a kill there, and this is the moment where you're just like, okay, Pip and Ruckus are all getting us. It looks like Bitey might not have been trying to, but it was definitely a, I don't have anywhere else to go, and you're going to kill me anyway moment.
I think they got that. It just didn't work the way they wanted because they didn't even regroup as 5 to stall at the main, one of the main 2 choke points in Splitstone. So I saw the attempt, but it's unfortunate that it didn't even work out in that, like, let's just save the last remnants of what could be a hopeful situation for us on defense. It's 2-0, and it has been a dominant performance thus far. The Pip, the Grover, they've been working well. Edgem has been getting the edge in the sniper battle. Pyrus, he lands finally, and will this make the difference? I'm sure it will at least turn things back in the favor of BOORK for now. Ruck is backing off, throws the emitter down. He saves that for a good moment. T-Max still has the heal, I'm sure. Blossom always at the ready when their team really needs it. Pyrus now no ult. It's going to drop back.
Really, really good zoning, though. Being able to get that aggressive. I was iffy on it the first steps he took through the door, and this is going to be why, because there's still a lot of room to come back, and that's going to be a King Bomb into a Hexafire. He's going to read through and deal a lot of damage, kill off the Bomb King himself, but also help get a lot of damage onto Pyrus and open this up for Downfall to retake.
Really, really good moment to ult there, because now they're at 97%, and it really put BOORK in a bad spot because they were comeback mechanic. I mean, if they do stay there, even if they lose a few members, they might have been able to get the capture percentage high enough, or maybe even take it over to capture it and then full wipe and try their hand again. But now the zone is looking pretty formidable. A lot of ults used. All they have is a flashbang to create some space.
But Fernando going to be able to make it through all the way, touchdown at least, to be able to get that overtime. There's going to be the Evil Mojo and just a burst slew of damage. And the shots are good from Loomsy. That's what they need, but they just don't have the presence.
No, how are you going to hit the falling down ADS, scope shot and throw the flashbang on the wall? It was so unfortunate. But Downfall are currently in the higher position here in this map and in the game. It's just flowing a little easier. T-Mac hasn't died, I don't think, at all if we take a look at the KDAs. And that's going to be a problem. That's when both your front lines and your healer on one team never dies, I think you're going to win that game.
Yeah, that is, I guess, the best word you used for it. That's a problem. you have to figure that out. And this is the one thing, BOORK.
That's weird.
We've mentioned this. Nick mentioned it on the desk. Between Kresnik and Bitey, they have a ton of theory crafting that can come through. They're very good at adapting if the game goes long, but that's the problem. The game has to go long. You have to give them time to figure it out.
Yeah.
And right now, Downfall are just keeping the pressure. They're just trying out something new, continually applying something fresh so that you can't figure out what just went wrong. You have to figure out what's going wrong right now.
I mean, and I think Pyrus is trying to do it. Like, look at Pyrus. He's in the back line by himself, just shooting at Ruckus at this point. He's so isolated. He had ulted by himself as well. If he can get T-Mac, that's great, but T-Mac vines away, and they kind of bait him out. I understand that frustration. Someone needs to kill the backline support. I'm going to try to do it, but unfortunately I isolated them too much. It feels like they're just not in rhythm with one another. There's a Dread Serpent. Can this finally do it? And now Toa finds the play they needed. They get rid of Grover. Will this be the beginning of a comeback here?
I mean, there's a minute left. If you want to be able to shut them down, you're going to need a little bit more than just a pause, than just a push back. A kill helps, but I mean, you're going to have to start killing off at least the Ruckus, who's on a 17 streak.
Yeah.
Start with him, then start looking somewhere else. But as it is, I mean, still walking away, Faye is just so comfortable as it is in this Ruckus that he doesn't seem to be worried. Even when he gets to half health, he just kind of shrugs it off.
Yeah. I think that's really the biggest key. Him and Grover have been sticking together. They not only bring a ton of damage as a combo, but a lot of setup. The cripple as well could set up for a Hexafire on an easy target, or just some general minigun blasts, and of course rocket launcher confirms. Kresnik throws the shield up, but that thing is melting, and it's not really where I love seeing Fernando played at this point. Although he's more of a sustained tank right now, just the shield up, it's delaying the inevitable, and he's making things happen. He seems to go for the Hexafire, another potential delay in terms of finding that kill, but it feels like Downfall may have overcommitted here. Everyone's fighting with just an inch of health, but at least the Ruckus does go down.
Toa trying to get a lot done. Unfortunately, the King Bomb not going to be able to find anyone big, and because of that, he puts himself in a bad position. Shadow gets taken down on the side, though, in this overtime. Even though it's looking good so far for Downfall, they don't have too much sustainability. Grover doing his work, but no one No one's been looking at him. There it is. Lumsy finally going to be able to figure it out.
I mean, and Lumsy seems like he's kind of locked in aim-wise. He just has had some rough matchups. I mean, that's really what it looks like. He's hitting his shots, but it's just the amount of damage Strix is able to do. And look at that. T-Mac shows up uninvited to the party and gets kicked out promptly. It's overtime. It's ticking away.
Ooh.
The headshot's going to confirm the kill on the Shadow. And that's going to be another one onto the Ruckus. So after not dying at all for 2-ish rounds, Ruckus dies twice.
T-Mac as well. I'm just going to say questionable decision to join Strix up on the high ground there. Like, that's kind of what's catching me off guard. He was safe up there for a long time until Lumsy catches his eye, goes in there, gets aggressive, forces a whirlwind. They reset. He's in a good spot surrounded by his team.
Yeah.
And he goes back up there for the same reason he was up there before. It's safe. It's out of damage range. You can normally live. But you just go right back into Lumsy's lap. He's like, okay, hey, what's up, man? Like, I happen to bring an axe this time to chop down a tree, and you die because of it. It's that just kind of weird decision when you were already in an okay position. I don't know whether or not that affects the entire strength of the game, that strength of that push, but it's now 3-1.
Yeah.
So that's all I can say.
I think if they could have some pressure coming through from Kresnik or from Pyrus a little bit more consistently, just some more confirms, that's where they're really missing it. There's not a lot of kill confirms at all, and they just have so much of it. This is a really good stun, though. The heal's going to come through from the pip right before, but oh man, really Pyrus with a double kill, and now Shadow is in trouble. He's used the heal for his teammates. Does he have it back? Pyrus just zoning out. He finally gets that healing, but the shield is going to block off the Catalyst burst. This is a great opportunity for BOORK to take this point fight.
And that was another perfect example of how much that slow on your explosive flask can actually impact something. That should have been a kill. It was just the fact that all of a sudden Ash is literally just trudging through the mud. And Edgem finding a double kill. I mean, that's what's been going wrong. These are the shots he needs to hit.
And he certainly did. Turn it into a chicken as well. That was going towards the front line. Kresnik just accepts his fate. He knows the team is wiped. And he doesn't want to delay the inevitable. Unlike last round, they're not in such a dire position. I think this is definitely the smartest call. And that headshot right there by Lumsy could have changed a lot. 3-1 here, though. 4 downfall. Can they close it out with BOORK on the way back?
So far, just like you said, Lumsy's locked in. His aim is on point. It's just whether or not he can find someone to supplement his damage and what he needs. Unfortunately for him, like you said, no angles. Does find some shots on the Thay, but his damage isn't just enough. He needs Pyrus' help. They find it. They get a good shot onto T-Mac, but they don't eliminate him.
You gotta get on the point here. Gotta get on the point. Overtime's taken away. It's over. And I think Bidey knew it. There was really no reason for him to rush on. That game looked like it started way too late for BOORK. They just kind of got going probably about halfway through, I'd say, and that was what that early comp was meant to punish on downfall.
When I have a game one, I like to use this phrase, and I feel like BOORK can use it as well. Warm-up game.
Warm-up.
You're coming into it. You're like, man, that was a little rough.
A little rough.
We got this game too.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously things didn't go the way BOORK hoped for, but downfall looking pretty strong to start off the set. Let's send it back to the desk, break it down.
Well, thanks, guys, and don't worry, it's actually me this time, but what we do see again is another 4-1, 4-0 on the start of these Splitstone Quarry maps, and Nick, what went wrong there for BOORK?
There's a bit of a disconnect, I think, between the aggro tank Pryus and the rest of his team, specifically his Bomb King, right? That's the guy who's supposed to be rotating with him. Strix is going to play from the back line, but it's Alex Zombie 10 on this Bomb King, right? He's just I don't think where he needed to be in that game in particular. There were so many times where Pryus, right off the rip, gets super aggressive, charges up the ramp. He most of the time assert dominance. If he had it, that's where the follow-up needs to come through, and that's where that big punch. Bomb King does a good job of being able to deal with Ruckus and take down Thay, but it never really happened. Outside of that, I don't really think BOORK won a team fight except for the 2 on the final corner of the payload push when T-Mac literally killed himself. Like the first time he borked a vine and just like fell into a grumpy bomb and then got dread serpented, and I just started to laugh. I was like, wow, dude, you were really goofed up there. And then that there again was another time that they started to lose the fight. But of course, Edgem, with all the pressure his tanks are creating, he's able to hit some crazy good shots in the back line with no worries in the world.
And you know, he wasn't able to match the damage of Lumsy on the Strix on the opposite end, but what he was able to find, and this is a common theme. Oh, wow. This is a common theme, but hitting the important damage. You know, it matters less if you deal 150,000 damage if you deal it onto a tank who's getting healed up the entire time. So Edgem certainly putting on a strong performance on the Kinessa in game number 1. I guess you could say outplaying the Strix on the opposite end, at least having more of an impact for his team in game number 1. But looking into game number 2, what do you want to see out of BOORK in order to come back from a 4-1 defeat? That was pretty handy.
I think just playing a little bit more together, right? You're seeing a lot of people going deathless, which means either you're not committing to some of these kills or you're not playing enough with each other to have enough burst damage or catch anyone off guard to kill them, right? Because there is a lot of damage coming out. We've seen that on the damage charts from BOORK. There are a lot. They're maybe just hitting all the wrong targets. They're hitting someone different each.
Right.
If they can maybe shrink the map down, perhaps pick a Bright Marsh, pick a Jaguar Falls, you won't be able to get as disconnected, I think, on a smaller map like that. So you can have your aggro tank and your bomb king playing better and closer together, right?
Sure.
You may not be able to run a sniper again, but you can certainly have that sort of follow-up there because, sniping wasn't the problem, right? Lumsey wasn't really the issue for them in that
No,
game.
he wasn't. And he had the most damage in the game. So he really had the biggest impact on the BOORK side. We are going to see what they answer back with here for map number 2 after a Splitstone Quarry. Map number 1, they're going to answer back with Serpent Beach. So I guess you could say it's a pretty standard second map pick here coming out of BOORK.
So one thing that BOORK did during the qualifiers was run like kind of a weird death ball-y comp, and I'm pretty sure this was it was either these guys or All Business. I think it was BOORK. They ran something like it was like Grover, Vivian, and like a couple of tanks, and nothing that could control the high ground whatsoever. And though they couldn't control the high ground, they were doing a really good job winning the point fight. I think it was a Grok was in there as well. They did a good job, and it looks like they might be trying to do that again here. As you see the pit band out, whenever I see an early pit band, it makes me feel like they're trying to pick something that is going to clump up and do very well in almost a death ball type of format. And
those are shadow bands, specific bands, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the Pip and the Eevee are not common. I guess they're common if you're playing against Shadow, so that's not somebody you want to give either of those champions. So I guess you should expect that potentially coming out here from BOORK, but they do get the Makoa, which is obviously a very strong pick in this meta. The Inara, the Lian, answering back here for Downfall.
And the rough part is Shadow's, he's just that superstar type of player, right? Where you're gonna ban 2 things and he's still gonna get a pick that he's really, really solid on. So we'll have to see what that ends up being. I would guess a Bomb King or a Cassie, judging by what's still left up on the field, and given they already have Leon, I want to lean a little bit more towards the King in that aspect. It's also a pretty good takeaway from BOORK, right? BOORK have shown the propensity to want to run this. Toa is very comfortable with this champion, and they will have to decide here and now. Downfall leave themselves their last DPS pick to try and counterplay whatever BOORK are going to round out with.
And I do like the Kinessa pick here coming out of BOORK, and I remember Gore and I were casting a game last series where the Kinessa came out on Bright Marsh, and we were kind of confused to see that come out and play, and less weird seeing it come out here on Serpent Beach, but certainly not a standard pick for every single map, but will help them hold that higher ground. So a good pick, but the Koga, you seemed a little surprised to see the Koga coming out.
Yeah,
here.
Master and the student, so to speak, here between the Xin and the Koga. Neither of them have Torvald back in them, but both of them are kind of solid on their own.
Right.
And I think if Koga plays well enough around this con, it can absolutely work here, and we've seen Koga run away with some team fights in our day.
Well, it's time to see if BOORK can bounce back. Let's send it over to your casters. Here's Rainday and Goremizer.
Can BOORK bounce back? The alliteration is too strong for that not to be a possibility. In fact, I'll guarantee it.
It's guaranteed. You can stop watching now. No, actually,
you can stop watching.
I think you need to continue going, only because Lumsey coming back on the sniper, feeling confident, but the thing that catches my eye, and the thing that kind of caught the desk off guard as well.
Yes.
Bringing in the Koga, no support, no Torvald behind him, no Genos Luminary. Like, this is pure Koga. And I'm just wondering whether or not Edgem can make it work, and he's going for the Kinessa.
He was one of the earlier Koga showcases as well. We've seen a lot of great Kogas around. And I think the strength is there. I mean,
it is.
If you know what you're doing, There's no doubt about it that you can succeed. Let's look at his loadout also as he tries to climb up to the high ground. He's going to find out that she did move. There's only a few places you could have gone. He's going to find Loomsy very soon. This should be a kill. And so this is why when we saw on, I believe it was E-Storm yesterday, the loadout they were running, it was a little confusing because Koga needs this Wind's Embrace 5, especially when he's not getting actively healed. It's just going to give him all of that life. It's going to take away basically 66% of the life he's losing in this zone, so it almost keeps him even, and he gains movement speed, and he gets the lifesteal. So right here, this is a loadout where Koga can do his own thing.
And I don't even know how to describe that entire first point. It was just Koga doing exactly what you saw on your screen.
Yeah.
Like, he comes up behind, kills one, then he kills one, then he kills one.
Yep.
And then they're set up so well that BOORK, even if they were around, couldn't really displace Downfall. It was, I think I used this word last set, but I'm going to use it again here. It was a very lackluster culmination of the beginning of the match.
Now, this is a nice min-max from Edgem. I mean, incredible use of the Koga. You're right, though, Gore. It really was Koga doing Koga things, but Edgemir, even surviving that, it shows Downfall are playing at a little bit of a different level right now. I mean, much respect to Toa. He's doing the right thing. He's chasing, and then a very good heal as well from the Saris coming through. But it's just the fact that Edgem survived using the skewer, keeping track of his energy, then using his shadow steps, then also getting healed on the way. Like, really nice plays.
Forced to use Spite just to get out of there as well. And then a grab on the Makoa, like, comes down to what you just said. Downfall are just playing this cleaner.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of flashy kills, crazy, insane plays. It's just, we have a comp that's going to destroy your comp. As of right now, it's working. There's going to be a little bit of fight back, a little bit of bite back from BOORK, but
yeah,
it's only one.
It was smart from Bitey, too, to do that, because really the only way they could make it out of that situation, guarantee they can kill the Koga. I'm sure they know his ult is charged up right now. No one's seen him use it. But Pyrus, a little bit of revenge onto D as well as he gets pulled up, but drops back down towards T-Mac, who's given him a nice heal and has been doing fantastic today. Edgem and Koga, one of the benefits of Serpent Beach and why he's a little stronger is because he can be so maneuverable. He has unlimited movement to the high ground, and that is something that for most characters is just like a burst option. And Edgem now getting hunted as he realizes that Loomsy is wise to his tricks. He's going to back off and just wait for some more support.
Wait a minute. Where'd Koga go?
Wait a minute.
I'm going to go back to base. See what I can do.
But like that's what making his Koga pretty nice to watch. The fact that he's so aware of the moments he's strong and the moments he's weak.
And the fact that he's positioning the way he is, the wall climbing mechanic that's being showcased by Edgem, like, that's something we get to see in a couple of maps. We don't get to see as often. I feel like lately it's just kind of been Stone Keep Claws. This is a really good example of what Koga can accomplish when given the reins to just kind of run free.
Ooh, and this is an interesting quandary here because now I'm not sure he can make it out. Loomsy does find him. He kind of got spotted out a little bit, and the way that Bitey is positioning too is so... It's just such a pro maneuver, right? He can see everything. He's safe. He's got high ground. He can shadow travel if he needs to get close to his tanks, but they're like operatives, the Navy SEALs. They're covering each other from all these angles where there's no blind space at all. No one's getting surprised. But right there, Pyrus with a nice hook. And the Commander's Grab isn't going to be enough. It's a successful defense. And it makes you wonder if Koga doesn't min-max that well. Does it start to tilt towards the favor of BOORK? That was a very strong defense.
And I think that's the way it's going to be. Like, Shadow, the rest of the team, admittedly, but Shadow specifically, can have a presence, but it's not going to be anywhere near the presence he just had on Pip. It's not going to be near the presence he would have had if Eevee wasn't banned. It's, you are playing this Leon, and Edgem potentially playing this Koga because they are target banning you, because they're taking away a lot of the strengths that Downfall has on Serpent Beach. And so while he's able to be effective, he's popping shields, he's dealing damage. It's not the same, I'm going to flank around, make two of them run away so that you can pick them up while they like come around the corner or anything. You have to play a little bit more slow-paced.
Yeah, and that pacing, we'll see. Is it going to serve Downfall more? So far it has. Round 2 beginning here. A nice overpower to start things off. That's Loomsy in the gutter. It almost feels quiet, silent. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's a little bit of a... I don't know why that is, but Pyrus said, you know, let's get this party started. Ancient Rage, he's in the back line, and now Shadow under pressure. Really not a lot of places to go. And maybe just didn't want to die because he knew getting that hit with the Enlightenment would counter him and then kill him. Maybe. He was still damage immune, but I don't know if it would have... Yeah, travel time. We'll see. Interesting Enlightenment. We'll let that be devised by the fans as to whether that worked or not.
Definitely kept him
IQ.
alive
Yeah.
for at least another second and a half.
Until the exact amount of time it was over, which was the same result anyway, I guess. You know, but nobody wants to get countered to death. That's a little bit of BM as well. I guess that's what he was avoiding, and I can get behind that. 81% counting for downfall here. BOORK doing their best to retake it now. Shadow in a pretty decent position, though. The flag slams down. What can they do? Ancient Rage no longer available for Pyrus, and that's good. He's half health, so now a little bit of pressure.
You know, I'm going to say this kind of feels a little bit like it's not necessarily team deathmatch, but very brawly and brawl-oriented.
Oh.
Toa going to go down right there.
No,
No,
you
he
kidding
did not
me?
get killed? He walks out of that?
You start making another point.
What is he
okay,
doing?
so he's dead. Let me just talk about this next thing. And he actually doesn't
There he
die.
goes.
And you have to give credit to Bitey for that. I mean, the fact that Bitey is able to keep him alive in that process, I mean,
That's impressive.
it's impressive.
How many people have you ever seen walk away from an overpowered with a Leon behind them?
Well, he's lucky too. Leon had to reload, and
I
you
can
can tell
count
that Shadow
one.
is. I can name one right now.
And only one.
And his name is Alexander. I mean, Toa.
I was wondering when that one was going to come out. I was waiting on that all.
What one?
Toa.
Yeah, it's Toa.
I'm sorry, Toe.
It's Toe.
Big Toe coming through on
Big
the Zen.
Toe. Big Daddy Toe. Gore, I got nothing for you. You're going to have to take it from me there.
Well, this is that area where Downfall, once again, able to grab that point. Even though you have Toa being able to walk away from, admittedly, what was a surefire death, he dies a little bit later, and so does the rest of the team. Again, a lot of good work coming down from BOORK, but it feels very disjointed. It doesn't feel... I haven't felt like they're operating as a unit, except for that moment right there. That's the first time I felt it all game. Most of the time it's kind of been, well, there's a fight over here, a fight back here, and there's a support kind of floating between them, hoping for the best.
Yeah, and it feels like that's what Shadow's Enlightenments are doing, just kind of hoping for the best.
Yeah,
like,
no, that's a good description for that,
I feel like
too.
he's just like, man, if somebody just dives, like
if you just put yourself in front of this.
Yeah, what I'm trying to see now is that maybe he's just calling for an overpower, and he's like, throw him
He's
in this
over
direction.
there.
Like, that would be the hypest Enlightenment, where you Enlightenment and then the overpower throws them into where your Enlightenment's going. Like, if someone could clip that, I think that'd be a one and done right there. I'm not sure if we'd see it again.
Well, definitely a
Just
lot.
waste of style after 3 years in Paladins game. They're still being invented.
Edgem goes for the...
Nice timing.
Oh, Toa reads it. And this is a slower pace map.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the way BOORK wanted it to go. You could tell, like, the draft slowed down Downfall.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not going the way they want it because they haven't been able to pick up a point. Their fights still aren't going their way. It's just when it comes to defense, they have the high ground. They have a lot of advantages.
Yeah.
And so I need to see this next point fight make a genuine difference for BOORK.
And BOORK now are under pressure because the overtime is ticked away and they've got to a little low. But he's still alive, and that is more than you can say potentially about Edgem soon. He gets hooked back, and I was assuming he was going to die, but somehow makes it out. A little back and forth with Makoa's chain. Pyrus, he is certainly gone. And
Where
so
you going?
You waste the Ancient Rage, you still die, and the overtime luckily ticks away. Toa with a triple kill there to hold it down.
Set up exactly the way we would want, and admittedly, making the biggest plays. I want to say, out of BOORK so far this game, it is Toa. Bitey is definitely, I'm going to say, the unsung hero, keeping everybody alive from the background. But Toa staying alive in a lot of these scenarios, getting the kills he's been getting. He's 8-3-5.
Yeah.
He's almost top damage. Lumsey's still being able to beat him out just because, sniper. But
Still impressive, though.
it's just those killing blows. Being able to convert it, he's the one making the biggest difference. He's doing his best to keep up with Edgem and actually passing him.
Yeah, I really think that the only thing I'd expect a little bit from today is a little bit more out of Kresnik, honestly. Obviously, we love Kresnik. We've worked with him for a bit. But
Yeah.
I've seen the Fernando a little lackluster, and the Ashe here, the presence hasn't been felt yet. Although he is holding down this right side, he's done a good job of providing pressure onto the point. I think he needs to be more in the back line. He needs to have that impact. Him and Pyrus don't feel like their momentum, their synergy is quite there where it needs to be, but hey, maybe this is the start. They find a first early kill. Now T-Mac is under pressure. The shell shield just to give Kresnik some time, but a beautiful stun right when he gets out of it from T-Mac, lined up, and this should be a dead turtle.
being able to take him down. Kresnik is now kind of left on his own. He can dash away, but this, again, goes back to how much impact are you actually having? You were there, you were fighting, now you're gone, and you held on to a couple of seconds being on the point there, but it's just whether or not you can actually make a big difference. Your ult hasn't been used. I haven't seen any crazy stuns, and like those are the things. That's not just Kresnik. He's just the easy one to point out right now. Toa's been doing a lot. That case not going to be a good example, but the rest of the team, it's been very much the same. Like, what impact are you having? Like, show me the numbers. I see Loomsy having that. I see Toa having that.
Shadow, what? I mean,
Where's everyone else?
I hear you. Shadow this time actually goes for more of a 200 IQ Enlightenment. I'll tell you why. He knew he was under pressure. He wanted to stay alive there, but also do the damage. He had healing coming. It just wasn't in that moment. And so the Enlightenment bought time, helped to trade, and he did stay alive as a result. So I can get down with that one.
If you want to talk about anything, talk about Edgem.
I was not going to mention it.
Like just spinning all around.
That looked funny.
And it was a really, really cool looking ult, even though it didn't do any.
Hey guys, over here. Oh, cool,
He was alerting. He's like, this is where they like to stand, by the way.
Imagine just BMing your own team, or maybe they're BMing BOORK. I don't know. Maybe they're all having fun a little bit. I think more of it is just trying to survive, playing things on the safer side. This definite victory means a lot to them, and BOORK haven't really put it together yet. Downfall, 3-2, on the course of trying to make things happen. Uzi holding this angle very nicely with the sniper. Wall goes up from Inara. Minute 12 left. And Toa now getting in on the action with some Yomi swings. It's going to be earthen guarded. And so she'll get back to full in no time.
This is that area, and again, it's where Edgem kind of has to be the piercing factor.
Yeah.
Shadow can make plays, can get a lot of kills.
He can.
But it's not going to be enough to displace BOORK. He's going to have Edgem come around and cause some sort of distraction, get rid of the Saris, get rid of the Kinessa, like cause more trouble, just like he's doing now. Getting rid of the Ashe, forcing her to fall back. Even though he doesn't get the kill, it creates room for his team to get back to the payload.
And right now, though, this could be a 2-0 about to happen. Loomsy needs to hit his shots, but Edgem hits his first. Shadow stays alive. That's a problem. Enlightenment, I would expect it to come out, but it's not. And he's not risking it. I would have maybe bought some time, but maybe he knew T-Mac was going down as well, so the healing would not be there after the ult finished. Pyrus, I mean, the value I'm seeing from these Ancient Rages is more than just staying alive. Min-max, definitely more towards the min than the max on what Makoa can bring to a team fight. But if they get the defense, that's what they truly need. That's what they truly want. And it is going to be a successful D for BOORK. It's 3-3 now. 14 minutes gone by. This has been a slow-paced game, and one team's going to come away with it. Downfall have had control the entire time, though.
If you told me that we were going to do Serpent Beach right after Splitstone, and to guess, out of the two maps, which one was going to be slower. Serpent Beach would not have been my answer. And like you can see, like the kills are still coming out. I mean, they're going still low. I mean, for a 15-minute game, it's not as many as you would normally expect. But I mean, it's not that people aren't dying as much as it is that these engagements are, okay, well, we 3v1'd here and then got 1v3'd over here. And then we 2v2'd and we lost one. And then the other guy tried to re-engage. Like, it's just these small, really disjointed fights that, admittedly, and to me, aren't making as much sense. And I'm looking at this, grand scheme. In this setting, that's fine. But let's say next week one of these teams has to go against Ferocity. What are you going to do if you're trying to fight like this then?
Definitely not ferocious enough for me. I mean, I don't even think that's in the conversation right now. But these matchups definitely bring different dynamics out of players. That's already a mishook from Pyrus. It's already a whirl for the Zen. So Edgem has got two key abilities committed to now. Even though the guillotine, the billow and the counter are available. That's the billow right there. The seismic crash, the cyclone strike, all evaded by Toa. And so they all bait out a little bit from each other. But the overpower, where is that? Still waiting to be used. Jay throws up the wall, but he's getting taken down. 356 health. Kresnik finds the kill. They finds one as well, and now he and Shadow are on the loose. Looks like Kresnik is going to go down here very soon. He doesn't have the ultimate. That'll do pig. And it's going to be Downfall taking game 2, no doubt.
That fight was pretty much Downfall just waiting to say, hey, 90% by the way. You're going to have Bitey come in, being able to touch down. A Dread Serpent comes through, and now you're seeing the downside of having a sniper. The upside of having a good wall, it's going to be touchdown, touchdown. Pryor is doing what he can, but
Whoa!
Nothing to get a point.
That's a heavy little spray right there, but I like it. The confidence is with Downfall. 2-0. They shut it down. They take down some pretty big names in the Paladins scene. So these guys are looking strong, and I don't know whether it's the invigoration of Edgem and the squad, or maybe it's just that these maps and today has been a pretty one-sided day for the most part in the PML. Let's send it back to the desk and see what they have to say about Serpent Beach.
Well, thanks, guys. And unfortunately, BOORK unable to bounce back, so the alliteration gets a little ruined there. But
no bouncing on this beach, BOORK.
I don't even know what you just said, but it sounded good, so I'm gonna let you go with it. But BOORK, despite losing again, able to at least even things up. Not even things up, at least able to find some footing in this match. They were able to at least get 3 points off of Downfall here. So if you're looking at it from their point of view, what do you grab onto that you did right in that last game to keep doing in the future?
I think what they did right is keeping track and communicating about where Edgem was kind of floating around to. He still gets a good amount of damage off. He still gets a bunch of kills. And that comes along with Downfall being that sort of complete package that we talked about today, right? T-Mac killing it on the healing charts. I actually think both these frontliners, Thay and Jay, did a really... Thay and Jay, what a nice little combo for the frontline. I thought they did a really, really good job, and obviously Shadow being just a rock-solid, consistent performer for them, 14-8 on whatever he ends up playing, right? So he's playing some blasters, playing a little bit of this hit scan even. At this point, it doesn't look like there's anything that he can't do. His enlightenments were certainly questionable in this game at times, but
it's true.
That's only part of the equation, and he had everything else pretty much balanced.
Especially after getting 2 of his main picks banned out early on in the last.
That's also very true.
I mean, he had Eevee gone, he had the Pip gone. I mean, it's not often that you see 2 bans coming out.
That is a great point.
For one person and still doing well.
You've already done a lot for your team before the game even starts, right? By forcing these 2 very unconventional bans, you've created artificially a lot of room in the draft for you and your team to sort of work with. When you're the star player and everyone's sort of focusing on taking away what you want and banning away what you want, and you still get, like your, 4th or 5th string pick and go off with it, right? 12-8, and, he's having a good game on it, right? He's still a bright spot, if you will. One of the few people that was actually positive on his team despite winning.
So, again, looking at it from BOORK's point of view, you've banned out, you've done the strategy of using 2 bans on Shadow, and it, I guess, worked out okay for you. I mean, you go 4-3, you still lose. Do you return to that ban style? Do you still look to get Shadow onto a 3rd champion?
I thought they were going to go for that ban style, but then pick that sort of like Death Baldy comp that they ran the other week.
That,
but they didn't. They went for something that's not necessarily anything special about it, and that creativity is what I'm kind of looking for out of BOORK, I think, in this last game. Right, backs against the wall. They got a couple of great draft minds on this team. I want to see something spicy.
And they definitely have, the ball is in their court in this sense. They get the map pick here going into game number 3. They want to try to be our first team to hopefully take more than 1 game off of their opposition. So we will dive into the 3rd map pick here just to see where BOORK is going to decide to take things here for our 3rd game. And Stone Keep is their pick, and that doesn't surprise me very much. I'm okay with the Stone Keep pick here for them.
Okay, so we'll have to see what they elect to go for here. You could go for a Death Ball style. It's like a slightly toned down Serpent Beach where the high ground is important but not impossible to access if you don't draft directly for it.
Sure.
So they will need to be thinking about that, and you can draft. We've seen a lot of Pip. We saw a Willow today on this map as well. So that just goes to show you how important that high ground is, especially around the point. There is still high ground to be fought for, I think, during the payload push and specifically towards the end where the payload is actually converted. But definitely right around that point where the keep is, with the balcony, the gatehouse, whatever you want to call it, that's where people are going to be kind of smashing their heads into each other and looking to grab over control of the map.
And we see BOORK moving away from the shadow pocket bans. They say, all right,
this is very standard.
I'm going to move on to something different, which is, I guess, sort of surprising because you mentioned Pip as one of the strong picks on Stone Keep, and that's one that's certainly still available for Shadow to play. Whether or not he'll play it remains to be seen, but changing up their strategy and actually giving Downfall maybe a little bit more freedom to pick what they're comfortable on.
Yeah, and they're going to take away the Pip this time around. hopefully being able to do something with that. Inara is banned away by BOORK, which is interesting. Typically, Pip has been sort of scooped up to counter out Inara. The only way Inara can look after herself is if she has Seismic Crash available. The audio cue for the windup that Evil Mojo is coming and you're about to be turned into a chicken, there is enough time with Inara to react, hit E quick enough, and your CC immunity starts almost instantly. There is windup with your ultimate, but you get your CC immunity instantly. Kind of almost the same thing with Makoa. The only way he can really be, counterplaying and looking after himself is when Ancient Rage is available, but Evil Mojo will come up twice before Ancient Rage and Seismic Crash come up once.
The next time you see my
So
banners,
Victor getting picked up, one of the few times we've seen Victor today, and then Shadow does end up getting his Eevee on the side of Downfall, so potentially scary here for BOORK in that, they feel comfortable with this map pick and the composition they've assembled, but, kind of weird to say the least.
I guess it's a solo support Pip, not something we've seen this season. It exists. It's been, it's been kind of there, and obviously you got to leverage Mega Potion, you got to leverage some cooldown resetting cards, but this is a high-risk lineup certainly for BOORK here, and like I said, no one's pulled it off yet, but I'm sure they know what they're doing, and there's only one way to find out if they actually do.
Ball is definitely in their court to prove that this lineup that they've picked makes sense. Well, it's can BOORK bounce back to Electric Boogaloo? Let's send it down to our casters. Here's Rain Day and Goremizer.
Thank you, Big Babaloo. I appreciate what you do here with this rhyming and alliteration and all the other beautiful, beautiful things you brought to our broadcast today. I just get grateful thinking about it.
I'm grateful to see.
I didn't ask you,
BOORK.
Gore.
Oh, okay. Goodbye.
No, keep talking.
I'm grateful to see Pip come through as the healer.
Yeah.
And to see BOORK trying something that's different, right? This is something, again, very similar to what we saw last week, I believe, with the Grok when they're coming through. Solo heal Grok, something that normal teams don't typically play, but BOORK make look good.
BOORK do typically make these things look good. My issue is that today has felt a bit like a very one-sided day. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, it's like half the teams had a really rough weekend and partied a little too hard or something like that, and just were barely getting to their keyboards to start playing, or and half the teams didn't. Half the teams were prepped, and they had their mental focus. They did some yoga. They were meditating. It just feels like there's just been a one-sided kind of feel to it, and that's why it's not giving me confidence here for BOORK to bounce back, even though there is a possibility. But I'd love to be proven wrong, because a good set in Paladins is a contentious set, that's for sure. 81% counting. Downfall, though, about 4 times in the lead as far as capture to start out Stone Keep.
Doing whatever they can. That 81% just sets them up for success. It's very similar to what they did during the last point on the last map. And all they have to do is find a little bit of control. They find Lumsy, and you kind of leave Kresnik out to dry.
It's one approach to stand there with low health and then just die without fighting. It is an option. I've actually used that option quite often in my games. If you guys want to borrow my strategy, feel free. I don't think it's as effective as you would like, though, in this matchup against Shadow on Eevee, as he is just waiting for you to make things a little easier for him. He's hitting the moving shots from about half a map away as well, so do not stand still on this man.
Yeah, if you were wondering why Eevee was banned, Shadow's kind of showing it off right now. It's just, he's really good. He knows where to place those shots. He knows the movement. He knows the timings. His rhythm, it's one of those things I always say, like, if you're going to play Eevee, we've seen some players who just pick it up and play it. Most people need, like, half a game to get into it, right? Like, the first 2 points go down, they're like, all right, I figured it out. I remember where Eevee's supposed to be. Shadow it's just on. He just starts off being able to hit that stride.
Pretty unstoppable combo there. That was actually beautiful. On the blink, they had timed out the Dread Serpent, and to me, that's how they're winning so efficiently. I mean, they're playing like a full unit, and they're working to make everyone's jobs easier by both combining their efforts. Pyrus staying alive here is probably one of the more surprising twists of 2019 for me. I thought he was surely dead, but he somehow makes it out.
The top 10 anime betrayals of 2019.
Absolutely.
Number 10.
Number 10. Pyrus
stays alive.
Stays alive. Well. Yeah, Makoa goes off the ledge there. Pyrus doing so much.
I think it's only as funny as it is because it's just such a kind of losing fight feel for BOORK. Like, it feels very dejected, very slow paced. They don't know where they want to hit. They don't know who they're going to target. I mean, an Evil Mojo came out and Leon just kind of ran around the corner and was out. And so you get those moments of, okay, cool, you finally got a kill. What are you going to do with it?
Well,
okay. That's it? Oh,
okay.
Sorry.
Gotcha.
It's my mistake. I thought there was a little more.
And this is really not... Ashe pretty much, with getting healed, wins this fight over nearly anyone except Ruckus, who can burst her shield fast enough and then burst her. Now, the thing that Makoa is working, the reason why this is working for him is because he's got Leon backing him up and Shadow rotating. So I don't know why he's still afraid to push into Loomsy there. He's got some heals. You know exactly where Loomsy is and what he's doing. I mean, I would kind of walk towards him right there. The one thing he might be worried about is Bitey on that pip. And so he's going to use the Shell Shield. He's going to advance, and now they've got to come down to the ground. Pyrus is back, and they've actually kind of given him time to come back. And maybe this will work. The Dread Serpent here just to scare Toa off for now. And oh, he was trying to Evil Mojo, but the Dread Serpent, he walks into it and gets feared.
That is a timing thing. Like that, that's not even like T-Mac planning that. That was Bitey. It was like that split second of it's literally about to go down. Your foot hit it just a second too soon.
Yeah.
And now you're all of a sudden CC'd out. Maybe you're able to jump down, make a difference if it's not there, but I mean, T-Mac's going to be screaming calculated from the top of the roofs.
No. I knew he would do that about 5 seconds later. I knew he would. It was like...
Why else would I put a Dread Serpent there?
That's like investing right there. That's when your money makes you money. You know, you already did an action, and then that action, for whatever reason, like the next week, makes you more money. It's great. It's a lovely thing. Residual income, my friends. Maldamba is ahead of the game with that Dread Serpent duration. Bitey rocking Pepper's weapon, but rocking the Viking Sweden, basically pip skin, which is one of our first ever like skin giveaways. It's pretty awesome.
And so far, being able to do a lot, actually maintaining that Evil Mojo, I'd say might even be better for them. Comeback mechanic this time around, being able to get rid of one front line, potentially 2 front lines free with one button, could definitely set yourself up for success, but you have to be able to find a little more.
Wow, big play. Shadow thinks he's got a free kill on the toe. He's forced to back up. Then Bitey goes for that Evil Mojo. But then Thiem runs around and he finds not one, not two, with Edgem cleaning up the other. Misses the hook, but who cares? Kresnik is dead to rights here. And he's going to go down. It's a full wipe after it looked like maybe, just maybe, BOORK had come to the rescue of their DPS players. So downfall again, 2-0, 81%. Looking like a potential 3-0 here, but here comes Pyrus. No ult, though. He's just going to die very soon.
Barrage came down, got a little bit of damage. Kresnik is back on the point. Dome Shield is right in front of him, and he's going to pop the Immortal. That's a good choice to try and stay onto this, but I mean, 96-7, you have to do a little bit more. You need more backup.
Nice.
And those are the 2 kills, at least to start it off.
That might have been it. I mean, he gets the full reset. That's like a Solar Blessing Furia right there with a little bit more mobility. That's what the Mega Potion Pip can do. Get all your health back, especially if they're grabbing some rejuvenates. And so now things have changed. BOORK on the point. Maybe it's going to give time for Pyrus to get that ultimate charge, but he's been bullied out here, man. The shoulder bash just completely countered by the hook, but he gets another heal. Bitey, does he have another one? Not in time. And they just cannot have the sustain they're looking for here.
Doing whatever they can. They're going to be able to touch, keep it in overtime as it's now 96-99, but the kills are going the way of downfall. 3 for 1 so far. Kresnik goes down there. And you were saying it before, and even though it looked like they might have been able to bounce back, BOORK are bumbling to the bottom as I try to think of more B words to rhyme with as overtime ticks down.
Bit of a mistake potentially there, but it doesn't haunt them. Pyrus has had 3 rounds to get about 40% on his ultimate, and he hasn't been able to stay alive long enough to do so. And he was 80% there. 1 or 2 more shots. If he lands for 8 seconds, gets a 3-man stun, I mean, that definitely could turn the tide of the fight, especially if Bitey gets some Mega Potion heals onto him when things get rough. But, yeah, I mean, I think Downfall are just... They could have won that cleaner. They're just that confident that things are going their way this set. Which is what it's felt like, Gore. I mean, it's felt like Downfall are just never even close to out of control here.
And I'm still on the fence. I love Shaolin. I love Shaolin as probably one of my favorite champions to watch, at least when I first started casting. But
does your wife know about this?
He just does not... He doesn't hit the same strings anymore. He's not being able to hit these arrows the same way.
Was he a part of our in-house band? Is that what you're talking about? His sitar playing? Because that could be worked on. We can get him.
You never know.
Jeez, man.
We'll get him some lessons.
Like, we can do that. You don't have to throw him to the curb like that, man. Gore, I didn't know you were so gangster.
Just
he stops hitting, a couple of
played
chords.
one missed chord.
It's
Get him
done.
out of
He's
here.
out of your life.
Our record label can't sign anyone like that.
Out of my life. One of my favorite Michael Jackson songs, by the way, which may not be the climate to talk a lot about Michael Jackson's songs. Musically, one of my favorite songs. We're not talking about the person here.
Did you know?
I hate that I have to separate that. In fact, I'm not. I'm just going to say that I like that song. I'm going to leave it at that.
For Billie Jean, his producer wanted to cut the beginning where that part. They wanted
That's
to cut
the best
it.
part.
And it's just like you can't just cut that part out.
It was amazing, man. I mean, you talk about accomplishments musically. You gotta throw them out there, and everybody has their struggles, and there's a lot of things that I'm sure they're not proud of in their lives. So we'll leave that to that. But we will, of course, celebrate good Paladins play here on the broadcast as much as we can, and that's what Downfall deserve to be talked about here. They are just phenomenal. Shadow, really just a vision on this Eevee. So good. And, it's hard to say anybody really compares to Random Noob, but he's coming close to really in this minor league showing a level of dominance that mirrors that.
The minor league Random Noob.
That's not a good. You don't want that. Shadow's been in the PPL.
I mean,
he's like, I ain't trying to be no minor league Random Noob.
Well, I'd say minor league Random Noob's better than budget Random Noob. You know what I mean? Like
Oh,
it's
I
like
agree.
if you're in the PPL, then you have to be the budget Random Noob.
I
You're in
agree.
the PML, you are the minor leagues Random Noob. Unfortunately, going to get taken out right there, but I mean he's been doing work.
We have a guy coming in from the Lakers named Andre Ingram who's absolutely just loved from our fans because the season's over. We've got some people who are injured, so they're kind of giving up the playoff race. But he's loved more than like LeBron at this point. I mean, he signed a 10-day contract before and like lit it up, got like 30 points, and everyone just loves his story. He's like, been grinding in the minor league of the NBA, the G League, for 10 years, and finally got a call up. So, you could be endearing, you could be a fan favorite. I guarantee there's going to be a few people in the minor league that become bigger stars than some PPL
absolutely.
players. So the opportunity is there.
Just based on today, there's been a lot of incredible play across these teams. Like this is the first matchup we've had today, even though a lot of them have been 3-1, 3-0.
Yeah.
This is the first one that I felt a genuine skill gap. Everything else was
Totally.
This team just played that engagement slightly better, and they won this point. And because of that, they were able to find a 4-2 on this map.
Yeah.
This has been a what can BOORK do to at least stay alive in the set.
And I don't know. I mean, I think that things are a little off. Again, like I said, is wrong side of the bed, rough weekend, but I'd be surprised if Downfall didn't have some success here. Lumsey struggling with getting up on the ramp, be an awkward angle at times. And a good hook there onto Pyrus. It's a full back off from Downfall, and they kept everybody alive, which is good. Shield coming down from Kresnik. That's a pretty long cooldown as well. Oh, and he hits the shot. Edgem is kind of on fire here, and he gets up on the balcony as well. Pyrus is in trouble. Oh, he hit shot Lin too, so the cooldown is so low. He's going to have it in another second. He's going to go for the Enlightenment. Can't get the kill. Shadow, you just stole your teammate's 50% ult charge right there.
And you know what? He doesn't even feel bad about it. He's going to keep going. That 1,800 health might not be a lot, but he's still out hunting for blood. And they're in control. I mean, 81% rising up. They have Ancient Rage available, about to have Dome Shield up. If they need it, Dread Serpent will come up in just a few seconds for them. So they're in control. They just have to continue this kill spree.
Yeah, and it's just everything going right and everything kind of going wrong for one team. Paladins minor league action. It's really brought to you right now by the high plays of Shadow and Edgem and just the consistency I've seen with performances from B and T-Mac and Jay. T-Mac's been pretty phenomenal as well. Finally goes down thanks to Lumsey, who's going to charge in there, do his best, but there's only so much one comrade can do to defeat the Downfall.
I like the emotes coming out at the end. The ice skate.
The ice skate.
Really
That
making
was
sure
strong.
you know that
That was
Shadow
strong.
is in full form and full effect. But all of them being able to stand, like they knew they had a pose. And I'm going to go ahead and say it. When you know that you can set up the pose, you're like, if I stand right here on the point at this time, I go ahead and hit my emo button. Like, that's literally setting up for the end screen.
You know, my favorite one is in Onslaught in that map where you have the spray that you could do on that one pillar that the camera moves out and you can get your spray featured. That's one of my favorite ones. A lot of ways to style, but either way, Downfall come away with the win today. Let's send it back to Dave, see if he can continue rhyming and close out the day for us.
Thank you very much, Evan. I do have one last one for you guys. That was a bit of a bummer for BOORK. It was shorter, not quite as long, but do have one there for you. So BOORK does end up falling 3-0 here to downfall. If there's a team that you're going to lose 3-0 to, you don't want it to be anyone, of course, but downfall is an understandable team to fall behind against in this sense.
Right, and we're still sort of establishing the power curve, I think, in both regions of the minor league race. So we had a qualifier, but that was group stages, right? Some teams never really played, across those groups, obviously. So we got to get through that first week or two of minor league to really get a sense of all right, who's going to dominate here? Roster changes are being made.
Right.
Stuff's going to change, I think, a little bit in the first couple of weeks here. It's, I believe, mirroring the same sort of 13-week phase as the PPL. These guys have a lot of time to figure it out, but these records are going to kind of come back to haunt them. So you can't afford to drop too many sets too early on here, and I hate to make it about the negative, but it did feel like BOORK was a little bit lost in that game.
And it did. There is one takeaway, I think, from them, and everyone, of course, a great player, but Lumsey, I think, consistently throughout each of the games that we saw today had the highest damage in the game in total. There might be an outlier or two here and there, but
I think you're right. I mean, damage while losing. The average output for Lumsey has been incredibly high, but at the end of the day, I'm sure he'd much rather have that W. There was missed ultimates. Bitey walked in the Dread Serpent, failed to get his Evil Mojo off a couple of times here. Just some disconnected looking stuff across the board, I think, for BOORK. And that, wasn't exactly untrue earlier on in the set. One of the comments I made after game number 1 was the fact that it didn't feel really like Prius and Toa were playing much together.
No.
And there was, again, that disconnect that never really found its way, I think, later on in this set either.
And I know one thing that you kind of wanted to touch on was the pick ban phase there for BOORK. They had a lot of different ideas that came out. You try to ban out Shadow once, you try banning out different champions, but you weren't the biggest fan of the way BOORK utilized their picks and bans, were you?
I like the way that, and it's tough for me to say, but no, because I love when teams do what they do and what kind of all business does, where they can run a very different style of composition. However, when that style just ends up looking very, very weird and disjointed, right, you have a couple of question marks. Like, for instance, earlier today when we saw the Kinessa on Bright Marsh, we were like, not really used to this. Let's see how it pans out. That's our only question mark about that draft. But when you look at this final draft here on Stone Keep, you've got Shaolin, you've got Victor, and you've got solo healer Pip, which is that's now 3 question marks in my book.
Sure.
Of something that's not really tested or proven in this meta, period, right? Victor has had his moments, especially on console, right? Shaolin has had he's swirling around a little bit now. Solo healer Pip, haven't really seen that at all either. So it's too much weirdness, if you will, kind of all at the same time. But I do again, I love the spirit of BOORK and a versatile team.
Absolutely. Always something fun to be seen in the pick and ban phase. We're going to take a quick look at the NA standings following the games this afternoon. Needless to say, Downfall and Ferocity, both 3-0 sweeps, leading off the North American side of things. And, looking back at that Ferocity map as well, these two teams look like the two to beat at the moment.
Yep, and like we said, these were qualified via group stages, so it's going to be exciting to watch everyone sort of play each other as the weeks go on. But, of course, we did have a couple of games over there in Europe as well.
And again, looking back at EU, they carried along much the same vein that North America did, I think.
Yeah.
All Business was the only team today able to take a map off of the team they were playing.
Yeah, Clown
so Sour
Fiesta.
Team going 3-0, Clown Fiesta winning 3-1, but dropping one map. So, we saw a lot of 3-0s today with, 1-3-1 in there.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the takeaway on the day as a whole? I mean, it's hard to summarize everything we've seen, but seeing such steamrolls that we've seen today, I mean, a lot of them were very close. I mean, one thing could have gone one way, one thing could have gone another, but what's your takeaway looking at the way these games were won?
So sometimes the 3-0 doesn't necessarily tell the whole story, right?
True.
Those could have been 3-4 maps, and a lot of them were. That could have been a 22-minute just beatdown between these two teams. But at the end of the day, this is more often than not how like week ones and stuff will play. When high seeds are playing low seeds and things like that, and you have teams that haven't really played each other before, and you know, people are still getting their rosters locked down, seeing these more convincing 3-0s is maybe a little bit more what you expect. When these teams start to play each other week in and week out, these are going to be 13-week phases, guys, for I believe 26 total weeks of play. We'll get into that later, but they're going to figure each other out, right? These games are going to start to be a bit of a more chess match instead of these steamrolls that we're going to see earlier on.
Definitely so. Lots of great action to be had today, and lots of really good takeaways as well. And, you know, one thing I want to touch on is we always strive to have great casts here, and Skillshot Media always likes to put on their best foot forward. And
well, that's only half the battle.
That is only half the battle. But on the back side of things, we had a birthday yesterday, so I have this nice cake here for you, Dylan, whenever I see you next. So make sure everyone wishing Dylan a happy birthday. Certainly does everything for us here, does a great job, and make sure that all of our productions go off without a hitch. But with that being said, that's going to do it for us today. A lot of great Paladins minor league action. Make sure to tune in next Monday, same time, 11 a.m., same place, for some great Paladins action. See you guys next time.
The Paladins Minor League, brought to you by Skillshot.